the next part of this modest presentation, because I remember as a student throughout the many years I spent in my school, in primary school, then high school, then university. Well, you come across different profiles of teachers. Okay, so some teachers really inspire you and trigger in you, and this is my case. Some have really built the profile that I said, okay, I want to be like you. So they triggered to real desire, a key desire for me to be a teacher. Okay. They have been great, really have been great, and they taught me they showed me what is a great teacher and what is a not so great teacher. So I remember as a child, I loved school sometimes and I hated other times. Sometimes I went, to school. I'm happy because I know my teacher is so nice, shows empathy, encourages, praises, shows love. Because we are in a human relationship. The human is, dimension has to be there, which sometimes, many times, isn't there. So, but I did hate school when, your teacher is not very welcoming, shows no empathy, doesn't praise, asks you to memorize things, especially the session of Quranic verses, and and you see his eyes or eyes targeting you, and you know what's happening. Oh my God, I suffered through my primary school. Okay, yes. I hope this kind of profile will not exist anymore when they feel they are the knowledge, purveyor, and they are there to fill your head with knowledge and whatever. But there is no space for discussion, no space for asking questions, no space. No, it's okay. You listen, you write down, then you remember, and that's all. And so I hope this will change in the future. So of course these are two extreme situations, two extreme fights. Okay. But reflecting on these two types of profiles in terms of students' empowerment, it is quite clear and evident that students can only be empowered or impacted by inspiring teachers who open their horizons, give them space to raise their opinions, make the learning process enjoyable. However, teachers can only inspire or empower if they are empowered themselves. Thank you. So I was just, looking through the internet for what are the characteristics of an empowered teacher. And of course, there are a number of things. One who is capable of decision making, professional growth, who seeks, professional growth. But then, okay, the question is whether he or she has the ability to, or financial ability to go abroad for further professional growth. It's and then the status, of course, self-efficacy, autonomy, and impact. All this is okay. There are things you can do on your own, but there are things you need help, you need support for, like, being able to go to attend conferences abroad and or get we never stop learning. We should never stop learning. But then we have to have opportunities offered to us. So the question is whether we have those opportunities.
Teaching, individualized learning. Okay. Empowerment is when everyone is meaningfully engaged. One of the words that have been uttered this morning. And everyone learning needs are met in an efficient and effective manner. Otherwise, we were just talking about it. Categories of empowerment. There is interpersonal empowerment and intrapersonal empowerment. I think these two concepts are quite interesting to keep in mind because, you know, interpersonal, this is what I meant what I said earlier on, power to share. So, and you do it anyway. I'm glad to see that you are actually practicing some of these principles, some of these, you know, things. You practice them, you already do them. The articulation between interpersonal and intrapersonal is very important because there is some sort of go-between and then also an impact of one on the other one. And the quality of one will ultimately affect the quality of the other one. Now, I said earlier on, it's a philosophy. A sense of power too. Power too, what does it mean? It's when you work with people, not for the people. I think this distinction is really important. That is sharing power within the classroom community, for example. This is just an example. I think it's important you know this, and I highlight two words, ownership and autonomy. I think we can't talk about empowerment without referring to these, which are the ultimate, let's say, result of the process. I'll come back to this at the end, because the process of empowerment, it's not something that is taken or given. It's not a question of, I don't know, probably you're familiar with the old famous song, we don't need no education. I mean, if you go there, if you have, and you don't need no class control. Do you remember the words of the song? Yes. Now, we have the words ownership, autonomy, and working independently. There is another word which is absent from here, which I want to say orally. You know, empowerment, autonomy, goes with responsibility. Being responsible. It's not enough to give autonomy, ownership, if the person is not responsible. There are some prerequisites. I think you said it, someone said it. Mrs. Avril also insisted on this. You can't, within education, within classrooms, we can't talk about students empowerment without teacher empowerment. It's as simple as that. The equation, when we talk about empowered teachers at the level of choices, I mean, teachers must have the choice to, for example, vary the activities, to adapt the curriculum, to assign different learning tasks and activities. Professional autonomy, I think this is a key word also in empowerment. Professional autonomy, given that we need to be, first of all, engaged into professional development. Decision making. If teachers are not empowered, they come up. Responsibility, independence, risk-taking. You know, when we have this, if we don't take risks, then we won't advance. And normally, this is the opportunity, for example, to innovate. Innovation. When we talk about creativity, innovation, it's the result of some risks. But there are well-thought, well-planned risks. Okay? Collaboration, self-evaluation. I insist on this because if we don't learn the culture of self-evaluation, then we won't be in the position to have independence, autonomy, and responsibility. So when we talk about empowering students, in fact, we are talking about how we could change our conceptions of learning. If we don't change our conceptions of learning, then we won't help students be empowered. Conceptions of learning, conception of knowledge. How do we view knowledge? Development. You know, students' development in very broad terms. And how we conceive of classrooms. So you see the change that needs to be operated at this, and that's why probably we can start asking some questions. Okay, when we talk about empowering students, what role shall I offer my students? How often do teachers ask this question? When they design their lessons, when they prepare their program, when they, what roles? How do they learn best? I mean, you know, they are just general questions, but they are meant just to trigger thinking about this relationship between teacher and student and curriculum. What is scaffolding? What are multiple intelligences? We generally assume that students have only one type of intelligence, whereas in fact, what is critical thinking? What is cooperative learning? One of these buzzwords, one of these slogans again. How can I promote self-assessment? How can we promote it? How can I teach diversity and tolerance? I saw in the program that some of you will be addressing some of these issues. How can I help students integrate home culture into the classroom? Because sometimes how do we treat students in the class at any level? We treat them simply as heads. That means we address the mind, but we do not address, for example, emotions, culture. We do not address other aspects inherent in students. How can learners expand their learning beyond the classroom? If we want to empower students, we need to think about ways of helping them expand their learning outside. Okay, I will not spend too much time. Maybe I took this anyway, you will see the references afterwards for those who want to maybe expand their knowledge. You are familiar, I think, with these, with constructivism. If you have any question. But the things that I want you just to look at and try to do, in terms of development, in terms of learning, development, the interaction, teacher's role, and the classroom environment. These are at the heart of students' development. Okay? So you see if you compare on the sides, we have the developmental aspect, which is more human social. When we talk about, we adopt Vygotski's philosophy. And then we have the cognitive, if you want, the psychological aspect. They are complementary. I'm not suggesting that they are in opposition. Okay? If we compare very briefly the theories that you're familiar with, behaviorism, cognitivism, constructivism, so you see on this side, in terms of the processes of students' empowerment, in terms of control, in terms of who controls what, and then how we can instill some habits, let's say, or some skills of empowerment. You see, Jordan and his collaborator in 2008, I took this comparison from him. I didn't do the comparison anyway. They made the task easy for me. So, you see some of these principles that probably we can keep in mind. Okay. Now, within this framework, and the subtitle, which is more important for me, I mean, if we want to develop empowerment, we need to go from effective teaching to effective learning. So that we change if you want, the orientation. The goal will be effective learning and teaching at the service of learning rather than teaching for the sake of teaching. I took an example. Probably you have heard of this. You have read about accelerated learning. Take a few seconds just to... now, here, it's a combination, in fact, of principles drawn from cognitivism, constructivism, and neuroscience. In fact, it comes from how the brain functions, the human attention, motivation, the psychology of learning, and neuroscience. We call it accelerated. The notion of accelerated has the expectation that children can reach a level of achievement which is beyond their capabilities. I mean, if you want, you are familiar with the old Krashen's proposal I+1. Well, this is a development, but on the basis of research in neuroscience. That means we need to assign tasks and bring knowledge that seems to be beyond the level of students. That's the best way to prepare them. If they are effectively, but we need to prepare them, and we need to motivate them. Otherwise we will block them, simply. Okay? Based on the precepts of brain-based learning, accelerating, expects learners to. Okay? A number of things. We need, for this, create a positive learning environment. Some of you will be talking about media, others about visuals, about cinema, how we can use these as positive learning, to create a positive learning environment. Focus feedback on specific improvements. I mean, we need to give feedback to students. And instead of focusing on negative aspects, let's focus on specific improvements in performance, which can be understood and acted upon, so that they can improve, because the idea is to develop, to improve. Give an overview of the content, process and purposes of the lesson at the outset. I mean, generally we don't do it. We leave it till the middle or till the end. Engage learners by setting problem-solving activities, using real situations and challenging their thinking, because that's ultimately one of the things that we can do in class. Provide opportunities for learners to work in a variety of groupings. Break the standard setup of classrooms and the way we organize classrooms. Allow time for reflection and discussion. That's participation, that's engagement. Spend time reviewing what has been learned. It's important to review what has been learned. How the learning developed and how